Hey lovelies, it's been a minute since I've recorded a YouTube video, and the reasons for that are pretty much just moving. We moved from California to Colorado early last year, and don't worry, this is not going to be the permanent setup. I apologize in advance for shakiness of this video. I'm recording this obviously in my bedroom. And the house is a bit of a mess right now because we are doing renovations. Anyway, cut back to the move. So we moved, like I said, from California to Colorado early last year. And we were living in an apartment for basically the last 15 months. And it was really cramped, 4 people in a 3-bedroom apartment, which doesn't have a lot of space to begin with. It really wasn't anywhere for me to record videos. There wasn't really anywhere for me to just kind of chat with you guys that was private, that was not, we had half of our stuff in storage and the apartment was still pretty cramped, it felt like. So there were still a lot of things we were trying to get used to, homeschooling in a new state for one, just kind of adjusting to our new life here. And a bit of that was also adapting my practice to a new environment, right? To a new climate. Where we are in Colorado is about 6,000 feet above sea level. Our apartment sat at like 7,000 feet above sea level, actually. The house that we've just bought that you're seeing me film in is actually a little ways east of, a big city. So, essentially, I had actually some trouble adjusting to the altitude when we first got here. I'd never had this issue before when visiting, but a couple months into our move, my body was not taking it very well. So, had to adjust, had to adapt. A whole lot of things have happened in the last 15 months that I would very much like to share with you guys. And now we actually have a home. That home sits on 40 acres of land, and we inherited 30 chickens and 4 ducks from the previous homeowners. So we've also had some adjustments here as we are renovating 2 bathrooms, trying to move in, trying to get everybody settled. And at this point, I'm like, we just kind of need to get a video up because we haven't chatted in a hot minute. So I'm sitting here today. I have a Llewellyn order that I placed in January. In 2 days, it will be July. So this box has been first sitting in an apartment and then sitting in this house 4 months. I have just opened it and I'm going to share with you guys what I have inside. So the first thing that's like right on the top here is a great one from Laura Tempest Sockcroft, and that is Visual Alchemy. I love her Sigil Witchery book. It's amazing. Anatomy of a Witch, amazing. I love her work. And this is sort of a continuation of Sigil Witchery, actually. Discover the power where art and magic meet. And for those of you who don't know, I've spoken about this a couple times on social media, but not recently, which is the fact that I actually started going to school for animation. Like, that was my goal. And somewhere along the line, that's just not what happened, ladies and gentlemen. I did not complete that program. Unfortunately, the school that I was going to wasn't a super great school for that. Just throwing that out there. And so I ended up getting a job as a bank teller, and then 16 years later, here I am as a project manager and compliance specialist in the finance industry. So sometimes you gotta pivot. but I still draw. My oldest is taking art classes, and I'm really encouraging that and her continuation of that. You know, I got it from my parents, she's getting it from me, and just, you know, we love art. We're an artistic family. That's, you know, kind of what we do. So I'm really excited to check this out, and I'm actually excited for my oldest to kind of flip through this too, because I think that merging magic and art is something that's going to be right up her alley the older she gets. The next three, y'all, are a series, and I had been meaning to collect the rest of this series for a while now. And, you know, you'll know this isn't a new series, you guys. This is part of the Elements of Witchcraft series. And I bought Water Magic by Lilith Dorsey the second it came out. It is so good, you guys. If you get anything in the series, get that one especially. But then I had to, like, come on. I had to finish. So, you know, I picked up the other three, Air Magic. This one is by Estrella Taylor, which I'm really excited to get into that one. Dottie Graham McKay did Earth Magic in the series. And then Josephine Winter, Fire Magic. Y'all know I have a lot of fire in my chart, so I had to. Okay? I had to. So now all four can sit on my shelf together as a complete set, right? And it's gonna take me a while to get through these three, like, you know, but I'm excited to go on that journey. And then the last book that I picked up is by J.D. Walker, and this is Under the Sacred Canopy, Working Magic with the Mystical Trees of the World. I took AP Art in high school, and my concentration was on trees. I have tons of sketchbooks, digital art, paintings I saved from that year that were all just trees, you know, trees everywhere. And I don't know, there's something magic about trees. I am obsessed with studying the lore and information behind, you know, the Celtic tree calendar, which is, you know, quite a bit modern invention as far as the information that you see online today, but there is, you know, solid Celtic lore backing it, and I just love trees. I'm a tree hugger at heart, y'all. I think that's why I had to become a pagan. I love trees. And I think the way that they connect and communicate with each other is, we can't live without trees, guys. We need them. They're needed. They're necessary. And building a relationship with trees, maybe even if it's just one type, if you're like, ooh, apple is like something I gravitate to, or I love willow trees, find one. Over the last 15 months, I've really bonded with the silver maple trees that were surrounding our apartment complex, and I really got to know them. And now that we're here, you know, in this house, there's a couple dwarf apple trees planted on the property, but I'm planning on planting at least one silver maple, you know, sometime in the next 6 months, because I want to continue fostering that relationship and working with that tree, especially in the capacity that I've been working with those types of trees. So I'm eager to see if maybe this guy will help broaden. And this is by no means the only like tree magic book that Llewellyn has published. There are lots. So if trees are something that are of interest to you, like, check out Llewellyn's website. I bet you're gonna find more just like this. But I don't know, just something about the cover of this book and the synopsis, and just, you know, in this book, JD covers just different trees in mythology, from Norse mythology, Yggdrasil, to the Tree of Knowledge in Christian mythology, the Buddhist Bodhi tree. Like, this is supposed to have lots and lots of really good information, both in lore and just general information working with trees. I had to. So those are the 5 books that I had ordered from Llewellyn. And like I said, this was an order I placed in January. Got it in January, has been sitting and sitting and sitting, waiting for a video to be recorded. And moving is quite the challenge. And like I said, the last 15 months have really kind of challenged me as far as adapting my practice. I just happen to be the only member of my family that was born in California, raised in California. All the rest of my family is from the Midwest. And even my siblings, they were not born in the same state I was. My birth was, lucky happenstance of just being the place where my dad was stationed at the time. And he retired from the Navy when I was young. And that was where he was stationed at the time, so that's where we stayed. But a lot of my practice, since the beginning, when I started practicing in 1999, has been centered around, desert, right? The Pacific Ocean has been a big influence on my practice, but the type of trees that grow that are native to Southern California, palm trees, a lot of eucalyptus, just things that thrive in Southern California. White sage actually had been a big part of my practice because it grew in my backyard. We needed to work with real, just hardy, dry plants. And, we've moved to another climate that also has, I think it's zone 5. So the thing is we do get a lot of snow in Colorado. Not as much snow as some other places, but we do get snow. We're high up in the mountains. It's also very dry up here as well. We've had a very stormy spring, which is very unusual actually for this area. Last spring, it was not like this. So while we do occasionally get some really great rain, we do also have to think about, hardy and, drought resistant plants up here in terms of if you're working with plant allies in your practice. But I've had to adapt and pivot because there are some plants that I worked with back in Southern California that I can't work with up here. They're not going to handle the climate change. They're not going to thrive the way that they did in that desert climate. So yeah, it's been a bit of a pivot. Also not having that immediate connection to the Pacific Ocean right there, being a 35-minute drive away from the home that we were in. Here we have Pikes Peak, we have the Rocky Mountains, we have just, amazing, just string of mountains. And not that, California is actually covered with mountains, guys. I know that most people that don't live there immediately think of the beach. It's backed by a mountain range, a really big one, actually. And there's something familiar about that and the way that I'm working with my practice now, still mountainous, but it's a little bit more centered on mountains. Garden of the Gods is actually not a very long drive away from where I am. And I've been to that park. It's absolutely stunning. There's something very magical about it, but it's a different flavor of mountain. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but there's been some adaptation on my part. And that has been I think something that I needed a big change. And this move kind of forced a change in my practice as well. The dog's moving around on the bed. Sorry, shaking the camera. But this has been a good transformation. And I think that adapting one's practice to their native environment where they are currently, where they live, is something that's very important. White sage doesn't thrive out here. It just doesn't. And it wouldn't be fair for me to continue to try and force it. And that's why I didn't bring any plants from home up here. I wanted to be able to connect and work with what's here and what thrives here. Hence the relationship with the silver maple trees. And some other, fauna as well. I live in rural Colorado now, actually. We are surrounded by cattle ranches. I can't walk outside my door without hearing cows and the chickens in my own backyard. So, I think adaptation to one's environment is something that is essential to the core of paganism, and trying not to force it. So those are topics that I do want to expand upon, do want to create videos about. I won't keep you too long on this particular video, but just to say, hey, I'm here. We just did our second move in the last 15 months, and we're adjusting. So please be patient with me. But a lot has happened that I want to share with y'all, that I want to talk about. And a big one being magical and occult books. I've got stacks and stacks of other books, y'all, from the last 2 years that I bought that I didn't get a chance to share with you. So this is just a little bit like taste of that, mostly because I'm unpacking my bookshelves and putting them away, and these guys needed to be unpacked and put away. So I thought, you know what? We'll pop on. We'll record a really casual video just so I can say, hey, you guys can get a fun sneak peek on books, and know that more videos are finally coming, and they will be coming soon. I hope you guys have had an amazing 2023 so far. The year's already half over. I cannot believe it. But exciting things will be coming to this channel for the second half of 2023. So stay tuned. Subscribe if you have not. Click that little, button and the bell so that you're notified of those new videos. And I will catch you real soon. Brightest blessings, y'all.